So many people ask me different questions regarding what to do after school. A majority of them are interested in postgraduate education within Africa or outside Africa. Sometimes it's really difficult to advise people. A part of my own personal principle is to guide people in the process of wearing their personal shoes. But over time, I've been able to help and provide relevant guidance for postgraduate students. So what I want to do in this session is to speak practically on common mistakes and costly errors that people make in the process of their postgraduate education. It is good for us to know one thing is to be interested in postgraduate education. The other part of it is to know how to go about it. Most people do not know how to. And because of that, they made so many mistakes and commit errors that eventually affected their postgraduate education and also their career trajectory. So there are three key things that I want you to know in the course of this discourse. Mistakes and what are mistakes with regards to postgraduate education. What are errors and how can you commit errors? And what are the things that errors and mistakes might lead to? So mistakes are most of the time accidental and it could be intentional. Accidental in the sense that you do not have any basic knowledge about postgraduate education. It's just the common commodity around, especially in the university. The moment I finish first degree, I'm going to go ahead and start a postgraduate program. People do not know, but it has become normalized. And because of that, the mistake becomes accidental. But it can also be intentional. Intentional in the sense that people know they need to seek for information, guidance, and advice before stepping ahead to start their postgraduate program. But they are negligent, they are carefree. Sometimes they say, I know how, or I'm going to try and see if it works for me. Because in my own word, I'm wiser than wisdom. So mistake in this context becomes intentional. Errors are repeated mistakes. The mistake you have made, but you haven't taken your time to rectify, probably by asking relevant questions or seeking advice or looking out for knowledge that can guide your steps and order you right in the process of your postgraduate program or when you are trying to send in your postgraduate applications. So these mistakes becomes repeated over and over and over. And repeated mistakes are the things we call errors in the form of postgraduate education. So when you keep making mistakes, and these mistakes have now become errors, what you are left with is regrets. I've had the opportunity to counsel, coach, and mentor postgraduate students. And you could tell that they don't even know why they are doing the program. Some of them they are coerced to do it. Some thought because there are no jobs, opportunities around, the best thing is to start a postgraduate program. And because there was no proper definition and purpose alignment, people are left with regrets, repeated mistakes called errors, and accidental or intentional mistakes. So regrets are unresolved errors or uncorrected mistakes. Any mistake that you make that you can't correct or has not been corrected will become regrets or will lead to regrets. Any error that is unresolved, probably by getting to know people more and what helped them in terms of their experiences in postgraduate, um, in their postgraduate journey, what has helped them in the process of applying for postgraduate programs, and what are the things that kept them safe, make them stable, and give them this latitude to be able to make right choices. The moment you don't have this engagement and contact with great minds in this context, then the errors become unresolved and it leads to regrets. So one of the things you wouldn't want to happen to you as you are taking steps in your postgraduate education is to be regretful. Postgraduate education is not easy, although it's not impossible. It comes with a lot of responsibilities, a lot of demands, things you have to learn, things you have to know how to do, understanding the facts, the basis, the fundamentals, understanding the process of how things work, and so on. So you don't want to just get into it without having a proper understanding or right information. Don't ever rush into applying for postgraduate education or postgraduate program. So be careful of those subtle adverts that make it look like that is your opportunity, that is what you are good at, and you are the one they are actually looking for. Mistakes can be made, but mistakes can be avoided. Errors can be committed, but also errors can be avoided. So what I want to do is to guide you on how not to make mistakes. And if you have made mistakes before, how can you correct those mistakes? If you have committed errors, how can you resolve those errors? Or in the process of whatever it is that you define in the context of after school, how do you deal with it? So before I go ahead to talk about this, I would want to mention to you 4 critical things that might happen to you if you made a mistake in postgraduate, probably application, postgraduate programs, the choices of, or the choice of course of interest, or whichever part of the world you intend to go to. The first challenge you are going to have if you made this mistake or you commit this error without properly correcting them is inability to complete your program. It will be very difficult for you to complete your program. There are so many people that have abandoned their postgraduate programs. So many people started PhD, but they couldn't finish. Some, it wasn't intentional, but they couldn't control so many things because they were not ready for it. And they have to give up along the line. So if you are not very careful, one of the key errors to make is not to be sure of why you are going into the postgraduate program. And if you make that mistake or commit that error, it will be very difficult for you to finish your program. And the moment you are not able to complete your program, it leads to frustration. sometimes lack of confidence, even to do anything after, whatsoever it is that you want to do. You abandon the program. Now going forward becomes what? Very difficult. Why? Because you look like a failure and it becomes a challenge. You have lost your confidence. Sometimes it could be psychological. Now it starts affecting your mental health. So you can't think straight again. You can't really do anything well again because of that particular mistake and your inability to complete your program. The other thing is that it wastes time and resources. Maybe you abandon the program in your second year. You have wasted 2 years. Okay, 2 years of your life that probably you would have invested into something that you are more interested in or you are more ready for. And it wastes money. It wastes resources. If, for example, it's a self-funded postgraduate program, it is expensive, whichever part of the world you are doing it. So you waste money. And if it's a funded program, you have wasted the resources of your funders, your PI, or whosoever has given that opportunity to you. This can impair your motivations. It can impair your motivations. So what it does is that it cuts short that particular interest that you have and can affect your investment into the other things that might guide you in the process of living your life. The third thing is that it limits relevant impacts. It limits relevant impact because you've committed errors, you can't complete the program, and everything is just off the radar. You have wasted time and resources, so it starts affecting your levels of impact and relevance. Because if you can't complete your program, part of the intention of those that design postgraduate program is for relevance and impact, something you can add on, not only to yourself but also to the global research community, the body of knowledge. So the moment you have committed a particular error with regards to your postgraduate education, it affects your relevance. Then number two, it limits your levels of impact. And the fourth, but not the least, is that it can disrupt your career trajectory. Because your intention is to finish your master's program, to finish your PhD. You have a goal, you have a plan. You are looking up to in the next 2 years you finish your master's program. Maybe after you're going to start a PhD or you are going to start something or you want to do something else. Yours is 4 or 5 years of PhD program and you have a plan, you have a target. So the moment you make or you commit an error, probably it slows down the pace of achieving your goal in terms of finishing your postgraduate program, or you abandon it, you cannot continue again. So what it does is that it disrupts your career trajectory. So where you are thinking of getting to in 1 year, it might take additional 5 years. You might not even be able to get there again. It might change completely and forever the trajectory of your career. You are going this way because of that particular mistake or error committed probably in the process of choosing a program or applying to a particular school, then your career goes like this. And that in a way can affect you. So when this disrupts your career, what it does is that it makes you unfulfilled. Unfulfillment is a big problem because you had a target, you had a plan. Now this has affected you. That kind of fulfillment that you are looking up to in that context now will be cut short. And you need to understand how to guide that in the process of your career journey and making decisions for postgraduate program. And apart from that, it might make you to look unsuccessful because no one wants to know that you start something and you couldn't complete it, that you started and you can't finish. So it doesn't really sound well most of the time. Although sometimes you might have to give up. not on your dream, but on a goal that is not leading to the realization of your dream. But it is a little difficult, especially within the context of what is acceptable or within the principle of reality and what makes life to be lived well. So it's important for you to know that errors and mistakes can lead to regret and also affect you in terms of your career if you are not very careful in the process of making proper choices when it comes to postgraduate education. You need that understanding